Peace and welcome to another episode of Elevate the Mic. I'm your host, Max Mupesse. Today, I'm joined by a guest who's an MC, host, and also a blogger. Let us all welcome the one and only Holden Stephan Roy. How you feeling, man?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me here. It's such a pleasure. I've been watching this for a minute, so it's cool to always be able to get on the shows that you be watching on the internet.
Appreciate that, man. Let me start by saying you looking dapper, man. How you feel, man? Like, what made you say I'm gonna rock this
Because it's the branding. So back in 2012, when I was a more insecure individual, I did my first show, and I thought to myself, what could I do to stand out? Because everyone's always telling me you gotta come up with something to stand out. And if you ever go to a hip hop show, let me tell you what you don't see. You do not see people in suits. You do now. You do a lot more now. Right. I mean, guys like A$AP Rocky and the game has evolved. But if you run it back to 2012, it's a bunch of dudes in jeans and dark sweaters, and everybody's trying to look like a boom bap rapper, and it's like a certain aesthetic. So I thought to myself, I would look better in a suit, and it would increase the general attention. So I started wearing a suit at every performance. Now a couple of times it's just a dress shirt, but if you really run my any live pictures from 2012 to straight almost 2020, it's 100% in a suit.
Okay.
The whole time. So even now I've kind of made it a bit more casual. I wear jeans or whatever. But usually if my name's on a flyer and I know I'm performing, at the very least I'm coming in a blazer and be suited up for when I'm wearing a suit it's to rap. Whereas most people wear a suit to go to the office or whatever. Which is also, the colors can be more vibrant. It's more fun.
It's interesting. And one thing I noticed about you too is that you pretty much you're yourself, but it comes off as a gimmick with the hat and beard and the shades. Cause not the shades, the glasses. But most of the times, were you telling yourself I'm gonna go with this style, or it was coming off natural?
At this point, it's wild artificial, but not fake. So it's if you're in art, you're a product. And at some point or another, it's your obligation to figure out the most attractive and presentable person or version of yourself. And when I have a beard like this and hair like this, I get more attention from the gender that I'm attracted to. And in music, despite your talent level, no matter what anybody wants to say, you're kind of selling sex.
True.
At all times, because if nobody want to bang you, you're gonna have a really rough time in this music game. Is just the only advice I can ever really throw out. Try to make yourself presentable. But I liked wearing suits. To me, this is comfortable. The beard felt natural and stuff. Plus, when you can grow a beard, you flex on them. That's just everybody knows that.
Right.
The hair, I liked it long forever because I'm that rock star vision and stuff. And then the last thing was more the style. So if you do look at my older pictures, my fashion sense is whack as fuck. It is what it is. But then I realized that the fans really care about things like color coordination. And if you're really doing this for your fans and your community, by doing the things that they care about, by taking that extra little bit of time and effort, it shows them that you care about them. I'm a guest in hip hop at all times, and let's be real, one of the 5th or 6th pillars of hip hop is style and fashion. There's a whole history to that. Part of it is linked to things like when you can't have wealth, all you can really wear is the fly clothing on your body, which is real stuff y'all should look into and understand and respect that part of hip hop culture if you really want to claim it. So basically, if you show up like a Walmart rapper, in terms of your fashion, I don't really think you are paying the utmost respect to the culture that you want to be a part of. So by learning a lot about hip hop, it led me to the point where I have to try to both be authentic, true to myself, and distinct, because we're all supposed to be trying to stand out, and care. So the hat, I feel like it adds this extra flair. Plus people compliment it. You should always A/B test your clothing. People compliment it, wear it more. People don't wear it less. It's not really about you. But you should also wear the stuff you like. So both those things are true at once. And then this is the result of a scientific approach to style.
Yes, it is very scientific. I could tell that not only you study the game, you understand the culture, and you apply it. That's important. Applying it makes you obviously unique. You stand out for yourself, but you apply it in a way where like it's truthful to what you're doing. Let's start with the beginning. Just making sure I understand. You grew up in DG, if I'm not mistaken, NDG.
I grew up in close to near NDG.
Okay,
But like really close to it. So like close to Nuclear Westminster. If y'all know, it's like literally a kilometer away from DG.
Mm-hmm.
So like we would go like I knew not to go near Walkley as a kid. Like that was told to me as we passed by on 103.
Right.
So like technically it was close to Nuke, but that part of town I went to Waver High School. So I did link up with a lot of uptown back then. And honestly, what's his name? Shoot, I'm forgetting it. But one of the video dudes that like he's gonna pop up later on. I went to him. Kevin is his first name. Okay. Anyway, I don't remember his video name, but like I went to high school with one of the guys who go out to do like music videos with a whole bunch of people, and there's a few people from Wager that like went out to do a lot. So shout out Wager. I was in the last grad class there. Good guy. We moved to the West Island. I went to Abbott, and then I dropped out of university and pursued the corporate life.
Got it. So you pursued the corporate life, but before that, would you say you were involved in the culture of hip hop, or how did that go about exactly?
Yo, honestly, I got one of the whitest versions of this ever. And I put it like that because I think it's important to be cognizant of that. I'm like 12 years old and Eminem pops, bro. And you know what you think? Like a lot of us, we can do that too. Right. Like we can rap. And so like, and believe it or not, it was DMX that really sucked me in. Like if I were to pick my favorite, it's DMX over Eminem, honestly. But between those two and that whole era, the 2000 to 2005 for high school, so I'm coming from like the whitest background, and my mom's Jewish, converted to Christian. My dad's like we go to church, we try to like keep it clean at home. Literally couldn't listen to music with swearing when I was a kid. Like, my dad snapped all my CDs one time because he heard some cuss words and some rap one time. 35 seems. That's that bullshit. Basically. Yeah, all because of rap. So that's where I come from. And then I go to Wager. Now, if you don't know anything about Wager, in 2000 to 2005, if you look at my grad class picture, there are 45 people and only 11 of them are white. Now, I bring that up because there's almost no high schools in the city that are as culturally diverse where the white people became the minority group in the school as I did. So I'm growing up
mind you, and it was in a Jewish neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
What's crazy is when my mom went to Wager, it was a Jewish school that closed on Jewish holidays. And when I went to Wager, the cops pulled up 4 times a day to harass people for drug dealing. No lie. That shit happened when I was in grade 10. The cops would be there every day at my high school harassing young black kids. That's a real thing that happened.
That's serious, man. You could go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go too far in that direction. But sometimes you think about things with like the lens of being an adult, and you're like, that's actually kind of fucked up. Like, why were they there before school, recess, lunch, and after school? Why were the cops there for over a year, every single school day? It's kind of weird, no?
Yeah, you tell yourself there's some sort of agenda or something. Yeah.
Pretty sure it didn't happen at Lila.
Interesting. So now hip hop. Yeah, what made you? So it's really Wager.
You go to Wager and you start going from like whatever. Eminem pops, but at the same time, like you'd be walking down the halls and you'd be hearing songs like I know Chi Chi Man or T.O.K. You're not supposed to know that song. Right. That was playing in the hallway when I'm 12 years old, bro. So all of a sudden, and then here's a crazy anecdote. My dad became friends with like a younger dude who liked rap, but all of a sudden there was this stack of CDs in my apartment when I'm at Wager, grade 7. It's DMX. It's like Volume 3. It's like that whole era, like Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style. And so like I would just this bunch of classic, what I would call white guy entry point rap albums. Method Man, Redman, like all that kind of stuff. And so at 12 years old, not knowing what any of it was, I would steal these CDs from my dad for the day and like go to school with it. But then as time went on, YouTube came out. Like I was there for the 50 Cent Revolution. I'm like, but it was also like stuff like Diplomats and like some underground stuff I was being put onto because and a lot of dancehall and stuff too that like I didn't really appreciate till I was older because I'm so far from that culture. But I would go to high school And when I left Wager and I started at John Abbott, people thought I was a wigger
Okay.
with the W, because like how I spoke was so Ebonic based. They thought I didn't sound white enough to the John Abbott crowd for about 6 months to a year when I got there, because of like all the Jaeger's boss and all that stuff that you would have going on at Wager. It was just every day, all the time, that it literally changed my accent being at Wager probably forever.
Jeez, it's interesting how culture works, because when I first talked to you, I did not get the impression that you were trying to fake it, because I grew up in DG, right, NDG, and you can see Hispanics speaking like us. It's almost like the Toronto slang for the most part, and for the most part, it actually started in Montreal before the whole political issue happened. Now, would you say that that was also a blessing for you, knowing that you could be embraced by the culture and then eventually, you know, make your way into hip hop?
At the time, I had no idea, because to be real, like I was a dorky white dude that got bullied a lot at Wager. Anybody back then would know what I'm talking about. But like I did start writing songs in high school, and I did start writing rap stuff. And while people never like co-signed me, they would co-sign the poetry. And so like,
That's good.
and then like I have like also like some stuff happened. Like I remember one time there was a fashion show going on and the girls wanted to practice, and I always had rhythm. So that Sean Paul song came out at one point. They're like, "Yo, hold it, spit that shit." And I'm just like, "Yo, we're gonna get busy, this shit, that booty nonstop." And I just did it like, but on time. Like whatever the accent and the vocal delivery aside, the timing was always there, and I could speak very quickly and shit. So like, I just kind of like being exposed to it all. Taught me through those experiences that I could do it, but it didn't really click till I went to Abbott, and there was this karaoke day that they did in like the main atrium area, and I did forgot about Dre with this next guy, and I won't forget it. I did the ticka 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 slam shady, and like these 12 black people in the back of the audience, the only 12 black people there, just jumped up and lost their shit. And I know how this is gonna sound because I'm aware, but at the time I said, "Oh wow, black people like this. Maybe I can do this." Which is like, I know what that sounds like, but if we're being like real about the process, that was the moment that literally validated that maybe I should pursue this more seriously. This is like 2007 at this point, and then within 2 years, I like recorded my first bullshit song and like started like really slowly pursuing it till I got my first opportunity to perform, and it kind of snowballed from that.
It's interesting what you said about validation, because we all, to a certain point, we all need some sort of validation when become part of this. We become part of a culture. We become part of a system. We even take part in the team, because there's people who were there before us. They paved the way, and they embody or even study the culture, study the movement seriously. And now, when we get some sort of validation from them, it's not to a point where it defines our identity. It defines what we're doing to further on improve our identity. Now, could you tell us what made you start rapping? Or what made you start becoming a blogger? Because I saw that you also
the blogging. That's like end of the story. That's the last chapter of like recent editions. But throughout my corporate grinds, I was in a call center, and then I got promoted because I could write good and I could learn fast. So I became a corporate trainer. So if any of you guys need a corporate trainer and you guys want to pay me at least 60K, yeah, let's talk. But I'm actually slick with it, and I can make your boring stuff wild, interesting to new employees. I did that for a couple of years, and it taught me about lesson plans and knowledge and how to do knowledge management, which then got me promoted into a place where I was responsible for customer service for various brands for a software company. And that had me writing knowledge base articles. And I mean, I've written the equivalent of a 285-page book called How to Use Soda PDF. It is a very boring book, but that's how many pages of knowledge based content I wrote with the tutorial time. And then that evolved into videos and stuff. But through that process, I became a writer. Because say what you will, I've been paid to write. That's a professional writer. Say what you will. Am I a professional author? No, I'm a professional writer. And so that led to freelance writing and things like that. So like, I mean, I before ChatGPT, I used to get like those crappy gigs. Like everyone's mad. Oh, the freelance writing is crap. Bro, that was the worst writing of your life. That was like, here's a picture of a teapot. Write me 150. Nobody ever wanted to do that. It was never creative. Like kill that work and go back to making art. Yeah. That being said, for the people that lost bags, they're all mad at me. Sure. But because of that, I realized that in every creative profession, including being a rapper, your portfolio is everything. And I didn't have a portfolio at a certain point. As of 2022, I was no longer with that company. Some time had passed and I realized, oh shit, I don't have nothing I can point to that is my writing. So I started a blog on my website, which I then moved to Substack. Don't make a website. Ignore everybody that tells you to own a website. Own a website when you're making money. Before that, I lost $800 on my website. Thanks, internet. I'm just throwing it out there. Thanks, internet. But yo, that's what Squarespace is. $5 a year. Like, and then once you have it, you're stocked. So, and then how do you really monetize that? Do you have a pipeline? Do you have a funnel? Right. And so most people don't, which is like go to Substack. Because you know what they have built-in subscriber mechanisms. So now I still have the website because idiot me and I'm stuck with it. Right. And it does have a store component, etc. So it's not a loss, but the Substack has really been a blessing. But really, I made it a challenge to write every day. And this is because of long-term planning. Like if you're really doing life, this is art, this is just life. You should have a 20-year plan. True. Everyone talks about 5-year plans, and I call that weak sauce. If you only got a 5-year plan, you would be broke compared to the 20-year plan guy. And I wish I had a 50-year plan, but I'm not there yet in life. Right. But I know what I want to be in my 50s. And it took me a long time, and part of that is an author. I want to be a guy that's dropping, like what you're doing with the books, but just like 4 books a year, New York Times bestseller list in weird niche categories. But really, I want to go to colleges and get paid $50,000 and talk to college kids who think I'm the shit because I'm weird Uncle Holden. That's the truth. Yeah, for that, man. I like that. But that's like the real bags out there. That's a real career path. And so, how do these guys actually write books every day? Because if you want to be successful, you have to study successful habits. And every last one of them publishes regularly. They're the really elite ones. They drop daily articles every day without fail. I have tried this year. I have missed about 15 days total for the year. But since January 1st, I have almost, with the exception of 15 days, released an article. Because that's the habit you need to be the author guy that gets paid $50,000 a top. So that's kind of what led to that. It's a combination of future vanity and making sure that people know I can write slick. And I've sold 4 of those. Those blogs are sponsored. Hey, man, talk your shit. That's it, man. People need to know.
Without you talking about it, most people wouldn't even know. So it's good that you're talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, not that like I don't write for free, but like sometimes you're gonna make me write about something that's pointless. Or like most shows I go to, like I do write about shows I go to, but I don't write about all of them anymore because I'm not allowed to be honest. I found out, and so if I can't be honest, it's not worth it for me. But if you pay me, I don't care about being honest. If you pay me, bro, I will make this sound like I'm the most honest person ever while lying through my teeth. Hashtag content. But
that's it, man. Speaking of which, being honest, and writing about shows you go to. One thing I noticed about you're a supporter, man. I always see you out and about supporting shows, supporting artists, and you really embrace the culture of hip hop, like you mentioned earlier. One thing, what would you say is a common pattern that you see in a lot of artists today that you like them to really understand about this game or even music business?
I think that everybody in the game needs to recognize that you're an influencer, not a rapper, not a musician. You're just an influencer. And in your influencing habits, you happen to create music. And all y'all's content game is trash, for the most part. And I mean that including myself, because you know what? Go look at my Instagram thing. Like, do you remember when the Cine Awards came out last year?
Yes.
and the local hip hop scene, Rabble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of y'all did what I did. I looked at the follower count of every nominee, and there wasn't a single nominee with less than 10,000 followers, and not a single person complaining had more than 3,000 followers. So when you really look at the social equity, your views on Instagram or your music views don't really matter. They don't mean anything. I know how to fake it. I fake so much in front of you. I made $700 faking streams. What are we saying? Proud of that. I had 10 people that had me in their number one listen for how hard we ran on my music. That's a flex to me. But like the numbers we all get is small, the engagement we all get is tiny, and the truth is, it's because we're not interesting as content creators trying to captivate a scene. We treat it like people know who we are or should know who we are. And recently I've been thinking a lot about show marketing in particular because, not to take shots, but 80% of the shows I've done since COVID ended could have been marketed better. And it's not the promoter's fault. And here's why. The promoters you're all mad at are you. They're just you who got annoyed with the game and started throwing shows. They're not promoters. You're mad at a rapper putting up his own money to try to put you on. And how is this guy supposed to know how to be a promoter? He just started. And so who's supposed to promote these shows? Who actually cares about our Montreal hip hop scene? The thing that we constantly talk shit about publicly. So we all out there talking wild shit about our own scene. Why is the baddies gonna want to show up? Why is any 23-year-old girl and her friends gonna want to come to our show? Where's the fun in it?
Right. Is there an incentive?
Are we cool? Right. Are we some slick dudes out there posturing like they'll come through? We the vibe. Nah, we not. We just acting like old hobos for the most part. Sad that things are not going the way we want. And I'm sure there's people who are not gonna like what I'm saying, but I'm not even thinking about any of you. It's just there's like thousands of us, and most of our shows can't pull 100 people. So this is the facts of the numbers of the situation. If any of you throw in a show, we all know the same complaints we can make about rappers. That's pointless. What we need to do is better marketing as artists. We need to pull up, like, if there's 5 or 6, 12 of us on a show. Imagine 25 people on a show. We saw a video that had 25 of the artists all together, like, we're here, we lit. Right. Everybody's turning up, having a good time. Now you want to go to the show. You know everybody there wants to be there. It's little things like that where we as the artists need to present ourselves in a more fun way. Because why do people go out at night? Fun. Ain't nobody coming to your show, or nobody's going on a Friday night when they could be where procreation happens to go sit there and like not be where potential sex is happening. And we can get mad at what it should be. And I know a lot of people wish that there was this love of the culture that was like there, but do we love the culture? Because our content does not show it. And when I say content, I mean we don't see the reels, we don't see the love, we don't share each other's stuff. Yo, I'm as guilty as all of y'all. That's how come I know it. I'm just talking about me, bro. And that's the thing, is like I know you said I show a lot of love. It's on purpose. Because from 2012 to 2020, I did not go to your show unless I was booked at it. I did not care about your music unless D-Shade sent me a song in 2014 and I snubbed him. I didn't even listen to it. Fucking D-Shade, he's a legend. He's done so much for us, and I snubbed him because of my ego. I didn't even know who that guy was, and he did hip hop karaoke as a host. For 8 years, this guy hosted me, and I acted like I was better than him, to be completely honest. That's how we treat the scene.
Jeez. No, it puts things in perspective the way you describe it too, because it's instead of the we go, like we coming together, it's a lot of egos. Like a lot of, okay, you know what, I got this, I know what I'm doing, I got this amount of views on my page, you should look me up.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's we all lost this much money already. I don't know about y'all, but I'm easily 50, 60K in.
Okay, shoot.
So I'm sure a lot of y'all have numbers like that too, to be honest. If you've been doing it as long as I have, you've probably lost an insane amount of money. Times are tough. We are not getting paid. And let's be real, in the modern ecosystem, the artist is the client, not the other way around.
True.
That being said, if we want to change the perspective and to bring it back to like what we can do better, that's to be a visible display of fun. Not unity. Unity is a weird word. We don't even have, we have to fake liking each other. If you don't like me, cool. And I don't like you, cool. But when we in public, it has to be all smiles and daps and fucking love. Some real fake shit. Because we're selling a fantasy collectively to Montreal. And if we can't collectively sell that fantasy, who's gonna come to our stuff? And everyone talks about the Wu-Tang faked their shit. Everybody faked their shit. Go look at the past of history. Everybody did what they had to do. Everybody had to show some level of solidarity. And when you really look at all these music videos, how do they have like 2,000 people in the fucking music video? I can't get 6 people to come to my shit. That's a Holden problem. I have treated some of you very silly. I used to run my mouth a lot more. In all fairness, I created my own circumstances of where I'm not more successful than I am. But now I'm in this more diagnostic, how do we collectively do it? Because I'll be going to shows, doing my part, trying to make promo videos, doing it all, but it's not, none of this is a solo game. Like, you guys don't see it, but there's literally like 9 people behind Max doing this shit. Because when you have that kind of a level of teamwork put into it, the final product becomes better. So let's say we do a show. There's like 8 of us. We should all get together, smoke some marijuana, maybe have a little drinky poop, and brainstorm what the fuck we could come up with that would make people go, wow, this show sounds cool. And if we can't be bothered to do that, do we really want this? These are the questions I start asking. And then I see guys follow shutout, like 7:30 from regulators, who the smallest of small shows to the biggest of big shows will be there to the very end. He may not come on time, but he also has a job that prevents that. But he will rock it out to the end when there's 6 people left in the room. And we need more of that energy. Because, a lot of people be like, it's not in it. Like, like your heart's not there. Like, it's like, everyone feels it. Like, you're there to perform, cool, but like, your heart's not there to build the culture or the scene. And we're not New York. And we're Montreal. We're a very different place. I can just keep ranting forever, bro.
Talk it, man. I like it because I also want to double down on what you said about promoters and artists. I remember reading Jeezy's book and he talked about it was a good strategy. It's interesting. He was talking about how he started promoting Firebird. Actually, man, you read that, huh?
He said the best investment I ever made was paying Killer Mike and Bun B $6,500 USD. That fucked me up because nobody want to pay for nothing here.
Right.
But Jeezy saying, whatever, that was the best investment I ever made. And I said, what?
Mentality, yeah, it was different, man.
And that's 2006, so tell me the game's not pay for play, bro.
Trust me. So now, what's interesting, what he talked about in his book was when he started doing shows and he used to negotiate with promoters on how he would take a percentage at the door instead of selling tickets. He didn't mention selling tickets, but I thought about the idea of like the whole concept of how people talk about artists shouldn't sell tickets in the city and whatnot. So when you look at that strategy alone, getting a bag at the door, contrary to selling tickets, what do you think about that specifically?
Well, Jeezy, on his name recognition alone, could probably have a lot of people pull up. Or if we're actually being honest, Jeezy, in his lifestyle that he lived at that time, could probably pull 100 rooms to a show every time, right? So, like, when you go, I should get paid, and we're talking about performance, this is really just a question of economics. Now, we live in Quebec where grants have very much confused the situation. A lot of people get $500 bags to do performances that they could never sell $500 worth of revenue tickets for. Now, keep in mind, if I'm going to pay you $500, you have to have at least made me $2,000 for it to be worth it for me to pay you $500. And that's the way that business works. So if we want to have this conversation, my first question is going to be, what can you sell? How many people can you bring in? I can negotiate little $30, $40 bags here because I can say things like I'll get 5 to 10 people to come pay every time. Not come to the show and get them free because they're my boys.
No.
Come pay the door price. And if I really hustle it, / it's circumstances that are better, I can bring that number up. But like even the show that just passed that I don't want to put no one on blast, but like literally 15 people there, I still got 5 people to come pay. And I can't say that about everyone else on the lineup. So the question I have is, how many people are willing to come pay to see you without selling tickets? Because if the answer is none, you are nowhere near a place in your career where you should be talking about bags.
Got it. Interesting.
Because it's a business. Now, nobody has to like that, and your operational costs are what they are, and everything about your back end is your back end. But if we're talking me, I put on my promoter hat now, is like, what can you bring me? Right. You bring me to the door. Oh, you know what? That's why I don't throw shows no more. I was like, do I really want to lose money for everyone? Right. And you're like, no. Nobody wants to just do business to lose money. And because at this level, it's just business. Now, if we want to get together as artists and build a little wave and have 8 of us come together and build a little something, that would be a very different conversation. But if we're talking about how artists get compensated, the problem with Quebec is grants. Y'all see the grant money and think that's what the private sector is like. No, the private sector is people like me losing money. People like Max losing money. I was at your locksmith show. Yeah. I can't imagine, no offense, but I can't imagine it might have hurt a little bit. Yeah. We've been there. We've all had, I lost over a G at one of these shows last year. So it's like, when you personally on your cut, it's like that much gone, you're like, yo, you start asking yourself questions like, how do we do this sustainably? Because all my money's legal. I don't have no fast shit coming like that. It's slow, fucking terrible. I owe credit cards money. So now you're like, can I really afford to just throw money at people endlessly? Which is why you see this burnout cycle of people who do shows and disappear, because when push comes to shove, I'm going to throw it all on the artists. Your content game's weak, bro. Most of y'all. Not all of y'all. Most of y'all.
Speaking of content and music, Bonjour-Hi.
Yeah.
Upcoming song you got coming up?
Yeah, it's dropping on the 21st of November, so I don't know if this comes out before the song or not, because it's one of those. I don't to say that, but no. But yeah, 21st of November. Yeah, and I think it's, in my opinion, the most important song I ever written, because it's one of the only songs I ever wrote for like political cause purposes rather than egotistical vanity. It was like, basically we got mad at Valerie. Okay. Because she's the mayor of Montreal. Now, as the mayor of Montreal, you are a representative of Montreal, which is a pretty bilingual city upon which, language politics aside, there's still 250,000 of us that are born Anglophone here. So when you represent us, that's 1 in 8 people on this island that like you should be representing. And she chose, and this was a blunder, she's apologized for it, not the point. She went on wax and was basically like, and I'm paraphrasing it because I should know the quote by now, but I don't. We quoted her on the sample of the song. So we sampled her to start the song. So you can see it's there, but like she's like, you should be saying bonjour instead of Bonjour-Hi. And we're like, yo, hold the fuck up. I live in NDG. You know how we say Bonjour-Hi with the English accent? Right. That's how people say hi to you in my hood. It's not like, yo, you go everywhere and it's Bonjour-Hi. People come from out of Montreal, it's Bonjour-Hi. It's honestly like, I spent 2 years looking for a concise way to represent Montreal that would be like something we could be proud of, but also something the internationals would know. And it's Bonjour-Hi. And that's what she's trying to take away from us. So, and it's not just her. Legault put $60.5 million into a 5-year campaign to make videos and other advertising content to hype up French. And the very first thing they did was drop the video where at the very beginning it's just bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. And the reason they did that is to take shots at Bonjour-Hi. It is political, and that's right, the government's throwing subs like hip hop, like it's a Kendrick and Drake shit.
Let's not even talk about what they're doing to schools. And
bro, they try to kill the school boards. Let's be real. That is what they're trying to do. There was an election that just passed. It was highly under advertised. They did make sure that even though you were on voter list for everything else, you were on this voter list. And if you didn't vote, your tax money allegedly is going straight to French schools instead of English ones. So,
hey man, there's a lot of things we need to know. We need to be aware of, and people need to talk about. Because one thing also, when you talked about Bonjour-Hi, I noticed that we had this conversation prior. Like, there's this comfortability here in Montreal. There's this approach of like just being content with what you have and not necessarily pushing yourself.
That's some like low self-esteem,
right?
Real stuff.
Could you tell us about the differences you know? Well, the difference you noticed because you also co-host a show with someone from New York.
Yeah, so me and the man Flacco Bill linked up. I did an album review for one of his joints, and then I interviewed him on my stuff, and then he brought me into the end of the week New York circle. End of the week's up here, and shout out them. They're doing stuff with kids. They got a whole teach hip hop to the children program in Montreal, funded by the government. They got the government to fund hip hop. Shout out End of the Week Quebec. But I linked up with the New York version of them. I started doing the show with them, and I got to talk to. So like I did, my interviews are like life story shit. I don't really ask questions like that. It's not relevant to you now. It's relevant to you then. And so I started talking to all these New Yorkers about what they went through. And when you start comparing the Montreal versions of things to the New York versions of things, the New York versions of stories have a lot more people talking about stuff like standing around barrels rapping till 4 in the morning because they have no power. And then the streets is different, and the streets was a part of it. It's not like I know a lot, but there was a lot of corners. And I know this stuff happened in Montreal too, ish, but it wasn't. There's no way it was like the Bronx. There's no way it was like Brooklyn. We have social services up here. Like it's in the current spectrum of things, without real addiction or problems. There's so much food in this city that it's hard to go hungry, which is such a blessing. Yo, I met one of them rappers' sons came up and he was like, "Y'all give out free condoms and drug tests at your parties?" He's like, "You guys don't know how good you have it." So like, when you start learning about how not good the poorer end of America is, and you start seeing the like conditions that these people hustle through, you start to feel lazy coming from here. Where like we really cherish our weekends and work-life balance and stuff like that, but we're art. And that's what I was saying to Max before. Is like we're an art where you don't get a work-life balance. If you're an art and you want it, you got to actually work competitively to outperform everyone. You have to do more hours smarter. You don't get to have chill weekends. You have to date people who understand your life. You have to, like figure out a way to make it happen for yourself. Your kids is not an excuse. The tragedies in your life is not an excuse because the motherfuckers that make it come from probably, especially when we compare to places like Atlanta, New York, Cali. Look at what they had to go through and they made it. And these guys, when they're in the States, bro, my understanding, because I've never lived there, is like it's all or nothing. You're in the studio making music, and then you're making money, and then you're making music, and that's your life until it goes somewhere. And if you're not willing to pursue, even like you could argue, like I've been writing more blogs more than music this year. You can even argue this year I clearly want to be a blogger about it than a musician. And it's like you have to really think about the level of time spent. So like to me, Quebec is kind of on some weird low self-esteem, not believing in some shit. So that's a whole other conversation where if you check the Behind That Suit channel and you type in Olivier Bro, he and I have a 5-hour conversation basically debating if Quebec has low self-esteem, and I lost. He was right. Quebec got low self-esteem. But since we don't believe we can make it in music, we don't really believe it, which I delusionally believe I can make it in music, so I don't include myself in that. But if you don't delusionally believe you can make it, you're not going to do all the extra stuff. Like I got home at 6:30 in the morning, and I had to wake up at like 10:30 to be here to do this thing. I'm gonna have to go drive all night again, sleep when it comes. But like that's how I'm gonna make the bags I need to deal with the situations I need to deal with, so that I can start throwing like 10 grand, 15 grand a year at music properly, and not just including the travels, the everything. So it's real expensive. And if you're not willing to sacrifice it all, like you should. I love you, Bonnie, but you should be willing to sacrifice everything, including the people you love, in a sense, to pursue that if you like really want it. Not like really. If you're smart, your girl is gonna hold you down and build smartly, strategically. Yeah. But like, if somebody's not, you have to. It's so Machiavellian, to be honest. If you want to make this, you make it. And it's like, I don't know if y'all read 48 Laws of Power and shit, but like, you gotta move. Yeah. I mean, that's useful if you're not from the streets, though. It's a useful.
I get what you're saying. Basically, you utilize, you channel your dark side, and then you use it to your best advantage to a certain extent.
don't know if it's fully dark side. It's just recognizing how cutthroat this is. Like let's say you and I have a interview series, which I'm gonna try and get you. You're saying, man, you do one with me. Now we're both competing for that Cult Montreal spot. Now it can be friendly and fine. It can be mean and cutthroat, but either way, it's what it is, and we should embrace that and make it kind of fun. But like if you're trying to win in entertainment, you have to be more attention grabbing and better than the next people. And it's not quality of product. It's how good are you, the package. Like, yo, let's be real. Like when we follow our artists, we don't just follow their music. It's the lore, it's the story, it's the branding. Sometimes you don't even like, there are people who don't fuck with my music, don't fuck with my podcast, don't fuck with my anything. They just like watching me whine on Facebook. And they're fans of me for that. Like, they'll buy my merch off that shit.
Something else.
But they don't like my music. But because I make music, I get the rest of it. But like, so it's like, it's so much bigger than
just one thing.
And just dropping your next song, which I promise nobody's one song away from anything, except for one song away from the next song.
Bridge the Gap is also a show that you run right in post.
Yeah, it's a bit on a hiatus. Because like that was like the interview thing I did.
Yes.
Which Max was on it. So if you want to get Max's story, youtube.com/behind that suit, type in Max Mupesse. You'll find that. But yeah, that was the whole interview show where it's called Bridge the Gap because it was my efforts to connect with the community at a bigger level, but also offer something. Like, I will never charge a Montreal artist to be on my show. I throw in the word Montreal artist on purpose because I can't promise the future for anyone else, but you can't charge a city like that.
Right.
I'm not that guy. Other people do and they should, and all love to them. Like, you get something from DMS. Pay them. You're going to get something from them. You know why? Because we all watch DMS. So like, there's something there. But like, I'm not going to do that. I would rather personally, and this is no shots at Feezy. We need Feezy. We need what he does. But what I would rather do is pimp Americans. No disrespect to the state. Y'all are good to me, but I'm a Canadian. I want to take the American money and bring it here. So if we can build up the platform here and then charge Americans, let's fucking go. That's my dreams. That's how I think we should all be approaching this. How can we pimp American promoters? How do we create Montreal packages? Bro, get that Montreal shit in your fucking city. We don't have your girls turning up. Blah, 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 blah. Send us $1,000 and pay the flights.
Because, Montreal likes prestige at the end of the day, right? So it only makes sense to bring people who have a lot more attention or a lot more notoriety for the most part. Now, your music, would you say that you're a lot more focused at this very moment on creating content than making music, or how are you managing both?
Well, I can't afford to make the music every day. I probably spent like $1,500 on beats just this year. I'm not even a lot of beats like that. Like, I'm starting to hit the point where I'm paying people like $250 for a beat I love. I don't even know what your price is. I'm offering you $250 if I really want that beat. If I don't want your beat, I'm gonna maybe negotiate because you're trying to sell me. But if I want your beat, I want it. Too bad. And you know what? I've never had somebody turn down my $250 offer. They might even charge other people more, but nobody's turned down my $250. And so that's just that. And engineering costs money. And everything costs money. So music is going slower than I would like because my priority is clearing off credit card debt from passings this year. So I performed a fair bit, and merch is really interesting. So there's like other pipelines, but to actually publish and release new music, like honestly, I've dropped 2 songs. Once Bonjour-Hi's out, I've dropped 2 songs this year. And so in that regard, I'm inactive, but I haven't really stopped performing. I've actually written several rap invoices for pulling up and rapping. Like, I work with this brass band in Trois-Marie. The city of Sherbrooke has sent me money. These random Quebec festivals have sent me money, all because of that connection. So it's like, to me, that's the biggest priority is performing, but like out of town. I'm trying, like, at a certain point, your city is going to cap and you really need to get the fuck out because you're only going to be sexier to your city once you leave, because now you're having adventures and there's something to talk about. I'm going to give you the best piece of advice ever. when you go to Toronto, when you go to New York, when you go to all these places, you're not from there, so you're not a threat to them. You're just a guy chilling with them, and they're so grateful you're actually seeing them that everybody just gives you extra love, and it's a secret superpower. Get the fuck out of your city where everyone feels like you're a threat.
That's good. Okay. Now let me play the devil's advocate because there's also social media that can help. Would you say that that is not necessarily an excuse?
Social media is only as good as the content you make and what you're doing with it. So if you have a really good content idea and you pursue it, that's going to do what it does and take you where it takes you. In the meantime, if you're really trying to like do music and build bridges, I realized like if I take Bridge the Gap to Toronto and just ignore Montreal for 2 years, I'll probably make bags 6 times faster because this has a lot to do with the language. We always have to remember there's 250,000 Anglos in Montreal, and there's 2 million people here. It's not like the market's a bit fake when we talk English market potential. We're more like Kingston or one of them towns. And then we're like that in the middle of one of the sexiest cities. So it's a complicated reality for English media, and complicated, not wrong. Like your man that produces this was saying, like, we need to do it, and it has to do this stuff. But we also have to be cognizant of who we are. So, like, from a content point of view, like, what would people do to create content? I will give an example of something really interesting I saw from this young Montrealer, Drew from the NSL Collective, and him and his little peeps would go around downtown like little influencer Mike in your face shit, and they'd be like, "Yo, we're each gonna play you a song. You tell us which one of them is the best." And they turn that into content, and then they'd have little ding 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 score counters and little goofy shits. And you know what? One of them kids linked up with Chuck Ice and is working with him right now. Next one's running some live stream shit regularly, has a whole community he's selling to in terms of music promotion and exposure on TikTok. And so if you're doing the content game correctly, then opportunities will come from that. But it won't change the fact that as an artist, when you perform in another city, you're gonna get a lot of love that's different than what you're used to in your own city.
Yep, yep. It goes back to what you said earlier. Artists have to look at themselves as influencers first, and also to your point of getting more love outside your city. It's a fact. Yeah, it's a fact.
It's not even new. Look at all the grad clubs in the 90s. I didn't even know Gas Jeans was cool in 95 or 6, except that it's on a Nas album. He's talking about Gas Jeans. These guys were just influencers back then. Y'all are acting like they were not, but they were literally commercial horror influencers. Pushing Mo. Why do you think we all know what Mo is? Because what? Fucking Bad Boy decided. It's influencer shit. You watch them all on the yachts, dancing with the women. And you're gonna act like, oh yeah, it was just the raps. It was just the raps.
Hey, no, it's real.
Everybody's been an influencer in music. That's how this works.
I want to go to the segment called "If You Had the Chance to." So it's a segment where you get a chance. If you had the chance to sit down with your 16-year-old self and have a conversation with that person, so what would be the first thing that would come out of your mouth speaking to that 16-year-old self?
Bro, shut up. Okay. Shut up. Listen, motherfuckers, listen. And I remember take notes and shit. But I know I talk a lot, but I had to learn how to listen to people. Because that's how you collect the data and the knowledge and the wisdom and stuff. Because like every other young arrogant motherfucker, 16-year-old me did not give a fuck. He didn't listen to nobody. He was mad and in pain. I made so many bad choices. And you know what? Not even bad choices. But I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you met a girl. She's like, I would have fucked you in high school. You just never asked.
Right.
My life is full of those moments where pretty much everything I thought was happening was wrong. And had I just been more willing to listen to people, I would have seen the girls I could have got, the opportunities in my face, so many shows and paid gigs. Not maybe paid, but gigs that would have so many things that were just not there because I was being in my feelings.
Got it. So just listen.
Shut up, too.
Shut up and listen.
The shut up, it doesn't work.
Right. What's your goals for the next 5 years? Because you say you have this vision of making it, and I'm confident that you can make it too. What's your vision actually? If we look at where you are today and what you want to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Boom. Number one is I'm getting paid off of festivals and merch, and then consulting and that whole world. Like that's what pays me is my brand through the work I do. What it is, I'm a little vaguer because you know what? I got into this food review game through Indeed, and I got a job working for an influencer page, and I'm like, you know what? Now I'm a filmographer. Look at that. Am I a good one? No. People here are good filmographers. I am the trash that sells on Instagram, and it's so good because there's so much money being a bad filmographer these days. But like, so I want to keep it open ended. But the first thing is definitely festivals pay me. There's no doubt in my mind that's what I'm going towards because I want to be paid to travel. I want to be paid to travel to rap, and then eat, and then write, and then make videos and try shit. Like I'm in my head, I've got plans for like, and the thing is, I got so many plans, I don't know which ones because like I love dreaming. But like, imagine a whole 6 months is spent traveling Canada, looking at nature bullshit, smoking weed as rappers, making a documentary, fucking just staring at nature, going to all these fucking Manitobas and places we never go to. Right. And it's not even about our music. It's just a bunch of rappers discover Canada. And then we get the government to pay for it because we make it so fucking obscurely entertaining because it's such a not what you would expect, that kind of shit. Right. Like really expand on it and then make other people pay for it all. And that's what it is in 5 years is I'm doing all the stuff I want on other people's money, and then I still have a salary at the end of the year, and then with more than the community, but with more video games than I get to play now.
Okay. Yeah, you're heavy on Twitch too, huh?
It's not even that. I just like games.
Got it.
Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the greatest things that ever came out. Anybody hates on it, your computer sucks when it dropped. That's not my fault.
Jeez, that's good.
But I don't know, I haven't played in like 5-6 months because it's just been grinding this year. But no, like for me, not all the time. But yo, a 12 hours just sitting there smoking joints, just lost in the video game, bro. That's some wild shit.
Oh man. Now, when it comes down to what you create at this moment and what you're creating, what you've created, what do you want? How do you want people to remember Holden?
I want people to remember that I showed them it's possible to be the type of person that shouldn't make it but does if you're willing to do the things necessary to make that happen for yourself. I come from welfare and I'm a goofy, chunky, awkward looking white guy. How the fuck am I rapping in Montreal doing all this shit? Literally getting paid for it. Like how? And yo, if you look at most people that come from the circumstances I come from, they really don't elevate because the knowledge isn't there and shit. But I like to think that my life is an example of going from a place where you hate yourself to going to a place where you love yourself and you're living that dream despite everything except maybe being white. That's a privilege. Being stacked against you. So you have to always acknowledge the privilege.
Got it. Any final words? Anything you want to plug? Shout outs to the people.
The last shout out Chris Crum who holds me down. He's been there for like all these years. That guy has had to deal with me in my worst days. Anybody ever had to deal with me? Shout out Bonnie. She's my girl. She put up with so much shit dealing with me behind the scenes, but also participating in the podcasting and stuff that we've done. Shout out the homie Jess, no regard. Shout out Flacco. He's also very important to me. Those are like people that like are at a level of involvement in my life that is significantly higher than other people. So everyone else who feels they've done stuff with me, it's like you have and it's noted. Like really scandals unlocked a lot of doors with touring. Like people have done all these things and I could just list fucking names forever, but those other names, those are people that took time to on a personal level try to make me a better human being. Which is very different than you hooked me up or you helped me or even put dollars in my hand. Those are people that try to make me a better human. And those people, When you find them, don't let them go. Don't be an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Deep. Definitely. Hey, man. I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being true to yourself, man. I notice you don't switch up whatsoever. Every time I see you, you're yourself, and you don't want to come off like you creating a persona. So that's important, you know, when you approach people. And man, just keep on keeping on. Keep doing what you got to do to get better, and we're here to support you.
Right.
No doubt, man.
Appreciate you. Super bad time. My parking expired.
Okay, right there. Oh shoot.
Right there.
Damn.
I might even missed it. Not hoping I have a ticket, but usually when I got that.
Okay.
Sorry for the outro ruling, but
No, it's all good. I just want to say, man, I appreciate what you're doing, and keep doing what you got to do.
thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Max. This is fun.
No doubt, man. But there we have it. Another episode of Elevate the Mic, where we elevate mindset and skill sets of individuals who are part of the hip hop community. Peace. We passed it over. It was over an hour, right?
Sorry, don't go. We'll just do that ending again just before
Yeah, let me just make sure
expire.
my parking is good.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I'm like, because it expired a bit ago, and I'm like, how long ago? Oh shit, 30 minutes. I'm gonna have a ticket. Oh, that'd be so shit.
It was over an hour, right? The whole.
Yeah, an hour.
I was gonna put the timer in.
No, it's good. It flew past.
You want it to be more than an hour? Or less?
No, your ticket. That's something. Well, the last person that came.
They got a ticket?
No, I put a timer on the phone just so we could remember.
I should have paid more attention. I saw the 10-minute texting. I gotta go.
Because we saw, we cut together, we saw you take your phone and walk out there.
Right.
You're just gonna read about text or
Right. Yeah. So we're gonna edit that.
So if you can just take it back to like before the show.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we're just then sitting down, eh? Shoot, right? All right, good.
Yeah, so
whenever you're ready.
Short and sweet. Yes, man. I just want to say, man, we appreciate you for. Let's start over. Let's think about my legs, all right? Man, I just want to say I appreciate you for being yourself, man. Just standing on business, not necessarily folding, speaking your truth, and by supporting people. I noticed that one thing when you support people, people tend to gravitate towards you and even support you at the end of the day. So, man, all the best and all positive energy towards you.
Thank you, man. Thanks so much for having me here. It was a good time.
Pleasure's mine, man. Well, so there you have it. Another episode of Elevate the Mic, where we elevate mindset and skill sets of individuals who are part of the hip hop community. Peace.